Hi everyone! Welcome to today's timeless pick a card reading. Well, pick a letter reading. This video was initially supposed to be a cute little love reading, but Spirit did have other plans. As I was channeling for all your groups, I noticed a common theme, which is now a center point of this reading. We will be focusing on connections that are for some reason in separation. We will be reading letters from both parties involved, and that will help us understand where we stand in this connection at the moment. We will also be getting advice from Spirit as to how to move forward, but please only take what resonates and leave out the rest. Know that you are in charge of your own life and choices. I will be explaining to you how exactly this reading will go at the beginning of every group, so we can jump straight in. Please pick your letter now that will bring you to your connection. Hi there, group 1. If you chose the green letter, this will be your reading. Let me explain how the reading will go, and then we'll go from there. I will be arranging them as person A and person B. I will be arranging the cards as person A and person B. So we will get into the overall energy for person A, then the overall energy for person B. In the middle, we will arrange the cards for their connection, the energy of their connection. We will be getting into what their relationship was like, why they likely went into separation. But mostly we will be focusing on how does healing look, what does healing look for them? Look like for them, both individually and in their connection / separation. We will be at some point, I'm not sure at what point, we will be reading their letters to each other. I will be reading them for some groups at the beginning so that they can explain immediately what the energy is like, and for some I will leave them to the end, depending on the group. So I will be doing it. I will be reading the letters when I feel like it's the best for your group. At the end, we will be getting advice from Spirit in a form of a counsel from one of the decks that I have. And then I will finish with final thoughts. So I will be arranging your cards now that I pulled beforehand for your overall energies, and I will see you once everything is set up. Okay, we're back. I want to start by saying that for your group, before when I was channeling, before I pull cards, I did get an image in my head, like a little movie. It was an elderly couple. They were sitting on a bench under what seemed like an oak tree. They were overlooking some vast field, and there was breeze in the air, and the sun was shining, and the two people felt, I don't know, they didn't feel overjoyed, but they did feel at peace. I'm hearing finally at peace. I'm not saying that this connection will come to fruition when you're old or something, but I did have a sense of a required wisdom. I also heard that you two were dedicated to each other until life came between you in some way. I was also hearing that both of you were gaining wisdom. Gaining wisdom was something that kept coming up. Gaining wisdom, gaining wisdom. So that tells me that you both of you are on your separate healing journeys and very much dedicated to your own healing journeys. I also heard love prevails. So that's all I heard. So that's why I wrote it down as well. Okay, so person A. is someone, and you can be like, you can choose which person you are. You can be person A or person B. I might slip up and say you, because I do have a sense that this is you. That's why I placed it in the first position here. So I might slip and say, oh, you, but just know that I am talking about this person, but you can be either one. I got a sense from you that you are a person that takes on a lot from others. Like, you're a person that absorbs other people's energies. You could be identifying as an empath. Um, I I sense that you are working on having better boundaries. Um, I feel like in the past you didn't know how to release whatever you were taking in. I'm hearing that you took in other people's emotions, problems, that you were helping them. I hear that you were helping a lot of people through their trauma when you didn't know how to cleanse yourself properly afterwards. Um, you could like process internally things without a support system, or even internalize things that aren't yours to internalize. I also noticed that you see, I keep saying you. I also noticed that person A um, carries what isn't theirs to carry, that absorbs a lot into their system. They have this big container for other people's emotions and aren't aware when that container is getting too full, and that can lead to an emotional burnout. I hear they could feel responsible for holding space for others, and they don't know how to limit access to themselves. Um, this could lead to them becoming very irritable. I heard, I don't know where I end and where others begin. They're very emotionally aware. They pick up on things below the surface, things other people miss. Um, the conversations that they engage in rarely stay um, on a surface level, like small talk. They do tend to go into deep conversations with most people they encounter. People are drawn to them. They're like a natural confidant. People confide in them and tell them secrets and basically open up to them too quickly. Because they are like this, they do need to withdraw a lot. They do need their solitude. They are, I want to say, they're self-aware, which they are, but they're also kind of messy in that self-awareness. They swing between accountability and defensiveness because they hold so much from other people, and they feel like no one understands how much they hold, but they don't understand yet that, or they didn't in the past, that it's their responsibility what enters their system, and how they filter whatever enters their system. And I feel like they do tend to lash out at other people close to them who do not contribute to their weight they carry, just because they feel like, oh, they're not going to go anywhere. So, and they're not doing it on purpose. They're doing it subconsciously. So it's not like they're mean because of it, but it's just what they do sometimes. They bottle up things, and this leads to resentment towards others. They become reactive, and at their worst, they can be even cutting people off when in reality all they had to do was set better boundaries. I hear that they take on so much and don't know how to stop it, and that's why they get to a point where they're like, I have to cut this person out of my life. They're letting people overstep as well their boundaries, even if they do set them. And I feel like they're if they're feeling anxious, or I feel like every time they feel bad, they're not really sure if it's really them who's feeling it or if it's something that they picked up from others. They feel I feel like they feel responsible for carrying other people's emotions. Like it's their job to do it. And this could be something that they carried from early childhood as well. I also picked up from them this energy of indecisiveness as well. Like, because I want to say their nervous system is filled to the brim with other people, and their realities, I feel like they have become quite distant from their own purpose, disconnected from themselves. And I feel like this leads to them dissociating, or they're feeling like nothing feels fully right, so they choose not to make decisions. And this can lead to them overstaying in situations that they aren't comfortable in, like jobs that no longer serve their purpose, or they're staying like in situations that aren't aligned to them fully just because it's not all bad. I feel like the only decisions that they're comfortable making are the ones that are 100% something, if they have 100% clarity about something. But that's not how life works. I feel like if they don't like a job, even if they did make a pros and cons list, they would still stay because the cons isn't 100% and the job has a couple of pros. um, and this could also be why even in connections, doesn't have to be romantic ones, but even in like friendships, they do tend to stay with people who with whom they don't know where they stand, um, because it's not clearly bad. And I'm hearing they need to set better standards for themselves. And that I read somewhere the other day that it's like it was like a quote that said, not wanting to do something anymore is a valid enough reason not to do it anymore. You don't have to have a million reasons why you should pursue something or you shouldn't pursue something. I'm hearing that you're a person that really focuses a lot on being correct. You want to be correct. You don't want to make mistakes. But you're preventing yourself from growing if you don't let yourself fail occasionally. And who says that if a decision isn't 100% right, or like if it's like a pros and cons list, if it's 100% pros, who says that that's not a mistake? In the long mistake, there are no mistakes in life, but you know what I'm saying. Like even if everything seemed right in life, we can sometimes fail. It's not like in school, like if you study hard, then you're gonna get an A. But in real life, even if you do everything right, sometimes everything goes south. And I feel like that's what you're learning currently at the moment. Okay, let's shift to the person B now. I will be shifting because I will have some things to say about person A as well later, especially about their healing. But I want to go into the overall energy for person B now. I'm gonna get so confused. Okay, person B. They feel like someone who is very nurturing, motherly. They feel like someone who feels safe, someone who supports people. I feel like they have a lot of clarity around life, and I want to say structures that they placed on themselves that seem to be working. And that level of structure is important for emotional containment. People do rely on them a lot because unconsciously they put themselves in these caregiver roles, and they tend to really if people start abusing their good nature, they also lack boundaries. They also lack knowing how to put a stop to being taken advantage of, but they do start resenting and not setting boundaries on time. I feel like they could have had a mother figure in their life that might have been I don't know what they were like, but I feel like person B never felt truly accepted, and they felt like they had to dim their own light so that they are accepted by this figure in their life. I feel like they needed to squeeze into some box. Dimming their light was loud in my head, like dimming their light, dimming the light. That kept repeating. So I feel like all their childhood, they felt like they needed to become someone safe, someone protective, someone with a lot of structure, because from early childhood someone relied on them, and I feel like a mother figure might have relied on this person for emotional support, which is something I don't want to get into that. I feel like they were someone with a lot of talents and gifts. With the starborn here, they have a lot of like beautiful aspects of themselves, something very unique, and they viewed the world in a very unique way. But they did have to squeeze in some drawers that others imposed on them. And I feel like they're so used to downplaying their gifts and ideas and everything that makes them unique, because they don't want to stand out in a bad way. I feel like visibility and vulnerability for them was dangerous at one point in their life, and they learned how not to, not how not to be, but they learned how to sort of shut that part of them down. They're used to hiding their true essence, I'm hearing, like, or either they've never expressed their uniqueness, or they learned to treat their true nature, their true self, and um, their talents as hobbies, and this is the most they were ever going to allow themselves to pursue this aspect of themselves. They could also struggle to ask for help. I'm hearing they're very independent. Um, I'm hearing like they were the strong one in their family. Oh, they were always the strong one. So they learned how to be very independent, and that led them to not knowing how to be vulnerable enough to ask for help. I feel like they also feel guilty if they do, even if they do pursue their truth. I feel like they feel guilty. I just heard that they were guilt tripped whenever they did by someone in their life. This can only be immediate family, I hear. Deep down, they do know that they're meant for more, but they stay where they're needed. Oh, you know what? I just heard they never really pursued anything they truly love out of fear, of being, I don't know, ridiculed, or I just keep hearing that it was dangerous for them at some point. It was dangerous for them to be themselves. And because they shut that part of them down, they never really pursued anything they love. And I heard that includes person A as well. Oh, I just got sad. I will be reading your guys' letters now to each other. Some of the groups, a person B writes a letter to person A, or a person A writes a letter to a person B. So depending on the group and their overall energies and what I felt called to write, to channel. So this one is a person A wrote a letter to person B. So we will be starting with that. And this will give us the idea of where this connection is at the moment. Uh, I know it's in separation, but where they are at as people, and what they feel for each other. Dear blank, I tried writing this a few times, but each time it came out, I don't know, too distant, too like I'm asking you to get back together. I'm not. Not that I don't ever want to. What I really want to say is, I understand. I understand why you left. I can see that I was bringing so much into our relationship that wasn't yours to carry. And the thing I hate the most is that it wasn't mine either. My inability to say no to others drove a wedge between us. And it's hard to forgive myself for it. At the time, I thought that me sharing with you meant closeness, but I realized that I leaned too much on you to regulate my emotions. That wasn't fair to you. I'm also sorry for assuming your capacity was endless when you were only quiet. I have been learning to sit with my emotions no matter how uncomfortable. There is a part of me that still misses how safe you felt to me. That is also something I'm learning how to provide for myself. I truly hope you are doing well. Love. And person B's response: Hi, my dear. I appreciate you saying all of this, but I do have some things to share. Supporting you felt natural to me. I didn't realize the exact point it became all too much for me. I was getting tired, but I didn't know how to explain it without feeling like I was letting you down. So I kept going until I couldn't. I never set any boundaries with you, and it simply became unsustainable. It's okay. I don't think you were asking for something unreasonable. It wasn't your job to know my limits, it was mine. Looking back, I can see that neither one of us had the ability to hold what we had. I do want to take responsibility for the way I reacted once it all became overwhelming. I pulled back, shut down, shut you out. I can only assume how you felt. For that, I am truly sorry. I never meant to hurt you. For what it's worth, I do cherish the time we spent together. I am learning that being supportive doesn't mean being constantly available. Our connection helped me grow as a person, and for that, I am grateful. I hope you're doing well and taking care of yourself. Yours. I want to get into their connection at the moment. Um, if you two, which reading this letter now makes me believe, if you two were in a relationship together, when both of you were completely in your shadow, unaware of your patterns. I feel like because person A in their shadow element carries a lot internally, unprocessed emotions, confusion, I feel like they began to lean on person B for safety, stability, to hold some of the weight they carried. Person B, who was already overgiving, has a shadow in being needed. So they instinctively stepped into this role for person A. And at first it did work. A felt seen, cared for, B felt needed. But without boundaries in both of them, the connection became emotionally one-sided because B started to pull away emotionally. A continued to process and exist in their state that they were in, of constantly being in between, indecisive as well. And I'm hearing they were taking up a lot of emotional space in the relationship. And B, because they also didn't know how to set boundaries, they learned how to accommodate for this taken space by shrinking, I want to say, giving more energy to this connection. I feel like person A started to crumble under the weight of their own life, and B needed to overcompensate for the logistic part of living. There was a lot of triggers in this relationship as well, mirroring. I feel like B needed to become the one in charge, and they created this comfort zone that never really pushed A to change. And that led to a lot of resentment. I'm hearing a lot of resentment from both sides, which is not good because resentment is not a good emotion. I'm hearing they were draining each other, but because the connection was so strong and felt otherworldly for both of them, they couldn't really react in time. You two were very magnetized to each other. I'm hearing in the beginning stages, they felt like gravity to each other. They felt like they ignited each other in the most beautiful ways. They could have had a lot of deep and late night conversations as well. But they did also project a lot onto each other. Their fears, their needs, their expectations. I feel like in the beginning there was a lot of emotional vulnerability on both sides until it became too much. And B started to pull back because they were not comfortable with the level of vulnerability. And A started to, because B started to pull away their vulnerability, A was overcompensating that emotional labor. I feel like A did a lot of emotional labor, but B did a lot of logistic kind of labor. something material related, not sure. I feel like that is why they separated. I feel like that was the reason why they separated. A became too dependent, and B, well, started to run away, basically. And I don't know which was the person that ended it, but I feel like both of them needed to separate their energies from each other. It was necessary for both of them to heal. I do want to get into now what healing looks like for both of them and for their connection. Both of them need to work on communication, clear communication. That's clear as day for me. But what I want to say about A is that they need to get to know themselves so that they don't overstay in misaligned situations, so that they don't take on too much, because having clear and respectful boundaries with other people wouldn't have led them to a situation where they needed to lean so hard emotionally on another person in their life. They need to be more daring in their own life and work on recognizing that uncertainty isn't dangerous inherently. That they need to develop this level of trust in themselves primarily to move through life. Oftentimes, if not always, clarity comes after we take action, not before. So I feel like the longer you stay in situations where you're not sure which action to take, so you stay because you're waiting for clarity that might never come. And I feel like you would be liberating yourself sooner if you were to just take any action, even if it was the wrong one. And that's how you would learn if it was something good for you or not. I feel like you have learned in your healing path to self-regulate, and that's a good thing. And you did learn how to set clear and respectful boundaries. But I'm hearing that you require people in your life that are also like that. I feel like you have encountered a lot of people who are there just to unload on you. So you require relationships that are reciprocal, that you encounter people who can hold space for you just as much as you can hold space for others. And you require this level of steadiness that someone like people who are consistent and not hot and cold, but because I feel like that is bringing out some anxieties in you. B, on the other hand, they need to break their box, crack their egg, break free. Like they need to turn this container that they placed themselves in into whatever freaking shape they want it to be. I feel like I feel like healing mostly for them looks like how to care for others without letting it consume them or without abandoning themselves. I feel like they're so used to abandoning themselves when it comes to caring for others. They need to find their self-worth, basically. I feel like if they were to become what they were always meant to be, I feel like they would become this, like they would be even more what they were, but they would be more vulnerable doing it. They would still be nurturing because it's in their essence to be nurturing and caring, but they would also recognize that they too need nurturing and caring for, and that would help them not necessarily set boundaries, because I feel like if they were to integrate this, then they would only attract people who would care for them too. But I feel like the first person that has to do that for themselves is them. And I feel like that's why this isolation and separation was good for them, to recognize their own needs and to recognize um, that they simply don't need to keep doing what they were doing. I feel like they need people in their lives that encourage them to be more exploring and creative and expressive. I feel like they're afraid of their own creativity because it's so vulnerable to them, and I feel like they do need some support in that area. But I feel like the first step towards that is them allowing themselves to to be that way on their own. They need relationships where they too can receive care and to be held emotionally like they were providing for others. If healed and they do reunite, this relationship has the power to become a place where both of them feel supported, where both of them feel grounded in the relationship. If they both re-enter each other's lives healed, and person A is a person that is capable of holding their own emotions and process their own things, um, and they take responsibility for their inner world, they would no longer have to take this nurturing energy from person B because they would already possess it. And this would allow person B the freedom and space to explore their own wants and needs. They could take up space in this connection, and they would realize their worth, and they wouldn't have to jump in and fix anything. This could also be something that they're working on, fixing other people's problems that it's not theirs to fix. This connection would then feel very mutual, very respectful. They would both feel seen, both of their needs would be met. The relationship they're in currently is very transformative for them individually, and that is what is emphasized here. I feel like there was no hiding in this relationship. There was no way of either of them to hide away their true essence. And I feel like they were frightened because of it. they were lighting each other's shadows. They were reflecting back to each other whatever they were projecting onto each other, and that's what was very uncomfortable for them while they were in it. I feel like there was a lot of, while they were together, there was a lot of confrontation. And I feel like by the end, both of you kept trying to go back to the beginning, and because you remembered why you were together in the first place, and both of you kept trying to go back to what once was. And I feel like both of you missed, I'm hearing you missed like laughing together, because I feel like humor was a big part of the beginning of your relationship, and I feel like by the end that kind of went away. No doubt that you two miss each other. There's no doubt about it. And I feel like in the beginning when I mentioned that vision that I had about that elderly couple on the bench and them being finally at peace, I heard finally at peace. I feel like that's what your journey is about, to getting to that space within yourselves, to be at peace with all that you are. And I will pull some cards on where you guys are likely headed. Okay, Spirit, where is this connection likely headed? Where is this connection likely headed? Okay. There will be some form there will be some form of a new beginning. There's a lot of pentacles, Six of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles. That tells me that because I feel from this connection that both of the people involved are on their own, I want to say even spiritual journey. I don't know why I wanted to say spiritual journey, but I feel like both of you are, maybe even awakening of some sort. And I feel like there will be some something that could, I want to say could because it's up to you. Oh yeah, before when I channeled your messages, that's what I clearly heard about the two of you. It is definitely up to you. I mean, of course it is, but it's up to you in a way whether or not you become these people deserving of this level of a connection. So there could be some physical manifestation of this connection. Six of Pentacles talks about sharing and generosity, which I do feel from both of you, that both of you are very giving people. I feel like both of you have in you to bring stability to the connection. I mean, these are favorable cards. But I am sensing that mostly you are on journeys of becoming people who are capable of holding such connections. I feel like there's a divine feminine aspect here with the Queen of Pentacles, and I feel like if you are watching this and you identify as a feminine, I feel like you are working on being able to receive this generosity and security and stability in a relationship. I feel like both of you are becoming people who have a secure attachment styles. Okay, I will be reading from the guidebook about these two cards that are talking about your guys's separate energies, and I wanted to read counsel in this guide for the two of you, just so that you maybe take some first step. I'm hearing like maybe you can take away like a first step that you can take in your own lives. For person A, it can be difficult to let go of the past, or dreams that haven't come true, or love that is no longer in our life. But creation teaches that every ending is followed by a beginning. Nothing in life, no matter how painful or challenging, is wasted when you exercise the magic of discernment. Ask yourself, what purpose did this event in my life serve? Why did I make the choices that I made? What can I learn from what I've gone through? Find the answers and everything changes. There's meaning and purpose in every challenge, loss, or sorrow if you put it to use. When you find the meaning, you'll find yourself able to begin again, wiser, stronger, and better than before. And for person B, advice from Spirit would be, you're coming into a true sense of yourself and your ability to create the life you want. When you are fully present and act with integrity, you'll be increasingly freed from the limitations of ego, jealousy, and selfish ambition, whether yours or someone else's. You're discovering your self-worth and earning your own respect. You're ready to serve something greater than yourself, to stand up for your values, for others, and for the well-being of the creation. And I feel like that ties this reading into a nice little bow at the end. And this is where I will leave your reading. I hope this brought you some clarity and acceptance around your situation, and I hope that you take care of yourself. Bye. Hi there, group 2. If you chose the red, orangey, ombre letter, this will be your reading. I wanna get into explanation of how this reading will go. I will be placing your energy cards on both sides for person A and then person B. I will be placing your relationship connection energy in between. I will be getting into the overall energy for person A, then I'll be getting into overall energy for person B. I might go back and forth a little bit, but I will try to speak as clearly as possible. Once I get into your connection, I will be getting into what was your relationship like with this person. Why was it that these two people separated? Then I'll get into what does healing look like for the two of you, both individually and as a couple, perhaps. I will be reading the letters you guys wrote for each other. I'm not sure at what point I will be reading them, because for some groups I will be reading them immediately to get a better feel of the place you are in this current at this moment in time. For some, I will be reading it at the end as a way for maybe a closure. So I will see. I will see how I feel, and that's when I will be reading it. At the end, I will be getting into advice from Spirit from this guidebook that I have, and I will be sharing maybe some final thoughts about you guys. That's the explanation basically, and I will arrange the energy cards that I have for you guys, and I will see you then. Okay, we're back. Okay, before I get into your guys's overall energy, I would like to share what image I saw once when I was channeling for you guys. I saw an image of I want to say fault line, like it was big, and there were two sides. It was like a Grand Canyon but smaller. And you guys were on opposite sides of this fault line. And you were just looking at each other. There were no words spoken. That's why I sensed this gap between you two. There was something between you two that like something you're not able to cross. Like this space that is not being that cannot be crossed. No, that's just initial vibe I got from you two. I also kept hearing the song Dandelions, so that could be for significant for someone. So I'm just gonna get into person A's energy for now. This can be you or not. This can be you or not. Like choose whichever side resonates most with you. I will sometimes slip up and say you if I'm assuming that one of the people here is more you that I feel that I'm talking to. So, but forgive me if it's not. So I'm just gonna get into what I sensed about the two of you, about person A. This is someone who doesn't shy away from healing. This is someone who can be quite, I want to say, ruthless when it comes to bettering themselves. Like, I feel like you have no problem cutting people, things out of your life that are no longer serving your highest good. I feel like you have no problem saying things as they are, even if they can be somewhat hurtful. I'm hearing that ruthlessness is usually aimed towards yourself, but sometimes it can cut a little bit other people as well. I'm getting a sense from you that you are someone who loves their freedom. You don't like to be, I want to say, confined, for the lack of a better word. I don't get the sense that you're afraid of attachment. You're not afraid of attachment, but you don't like when that attachment or a connection, when it gets suffocating. That's what I'm getting. You're not afraid of commitment. That's what I wanted to clarify. You're someone who, see, I'm saying you because I feel like that's you. Person A is someone who, what was I saying? Oh yeah, they have a lot of inner turmoil. Like you experiences things so deeply, and this turmoil that you're experiencing usually leads you to profound change. You're used to, I feel like you could have some Scorpio placements in your chart, because I get a sense that like death and rebirth as like a spiritual concept is something that you are very used to. I feel like you have been on this path of becoming, and this comes very natural to you, like your default setting is deep transformation. I feel like you're someone who never loses their I want to say like higher perspective in certain situations. Like you don't allow yourself to um to let your emotions guide you. I'm sensing that you're someone like you're in the eye of the storm, and from that position you can clearly see everything going on around you. You rarely allow yourself to be consumed by the storm, if ever. And I feel like this person's ways of healing could potentially not work for everyone, and I don't know what those ways are, but I feel like this person's way of healing themselves, like some people even say like, oh, you shouldn't be doing it this way, but it has been working for you so far. Like in fact some people might call you them too much or going too deep at times, but I feel like as long as they don't harm anyone, including themselves in the process, I feel like they will continue to prosper from it, as it is the best way possible for them. I feel like this person needed to learn to be adaptable very early on, because their life has been, I don't know how to say it. I see like a bare land. Like there hasn't been much of anything, and everything they do have they needed to fight for. And they're used to these difficult life situations, and that's why they had to be like, they make the most out of the hand that they were dealt, whatever that was for them. But I feel like because they're so, I feel like because they're so used to transformation, and because they're so used to having this higher perspective, they do have a tendency to intellectualize their emotions rather than process them in a not necessarily like healthy way, but I feel like they do have a tendency to maybe not process as often as they should, because they do allow that inner turmoil to come to a point where they like have to explode. And I don't mean like in a, I don't know in what way I mean. It can be, I don't know the person, because like it can be that they sometimes hurt other people. Maybe they lash out if they don't like regulate themselves often. But I feel like at the same time, I feel like what I said like a minute ago, that can apply to someone, but I feel like having both the sword and the mystic here, they do tend to balance their need for intellectualizing things, um, and because they're very intuitive as well, like connected to their higher self, they do balance those two aspects of themselves, or they had to learn it the hard way, is also what I'm hearing. They don't, like, if they balance, because everything is balanced here, like if they balance this, they do possess like this ability to not sway in any direction too hard. Swing, that's what I wanted to say, swing. I feel like you're also someone who moved around a lot, either willingly or with your family, and this too helped with your self-discovery. I feel like this person loves to spend their free time journaling and self-reflecting. They have no problem with decision making also. Like once they know something and have like enough clarity, they move without hesitation. There's a lot of moving energy here, like a lot of cycle energy. They have no problem with cycles changing, cycles moving, even in their own personal lives. But I feel like because they're this way, they do crave authenticity from other people that they don't encounter as often as they would like. They require a level of depth in connections. Like I feel like this person would physically run away if someone wanted to like do some small talk with them. I feel like they're physically unable to have small talk. They need someone who is honest and judgment free. And someone who isn't scared of their storms. Huh. I'm gonna go to person B now, and then I'm gonna come back to person A. Person B. Person B. There's someone who is very afraid of their own divinity. And I feel like that was a coping mechanism. That was something that they had to learn in life to adapt to whatever situation they were in. They needed to learn how to carry this mask around them to protect their divinity. They likely experienced being ridiculed for, I want to say, like for everything, like for the way they simply existed in this world. There's something about them. There's this level of uniqueness that was, I want to hear like early childhood, like kids can be cruel. I feel like they were maybe bullied as well for just who they are. And they needed to learn how to mask themselves just to be accepted. I'm hearing they needed to make themselves more palatable. Ugh. I read on Pinterest the other day. So it was something along the lines of um, don't ever shrink yourself so other people can digest you. Respectfully, they can choke. So that's why I heard like a minute ago, like respectfully, they can choke. Because you do possess this divine aspect of you, and like an ability to build something in this lifetime that is incredible. if only you could see yourself the way I see you. And now I'm saying you here because I don't know. Person B. Okay. I knew I'm gonna confuse myself. Person B. I feel like you're someone. There's someone that has this ability, a skill, or like a superpower to make things come to fruition out of thin air. They have this big brain and knowledge in whatever it is they do, and people usually ask them like how do you do it? And I feel like that's a big part why person A was drawn to this person. It's this superpower they have. But I feel like they're very much doubting themselves. And I feel like person B was drawn to person A because they were envious of person A's ability to change like this. To say what they mean. And I feel like person A, because they have this way of speaking, sometimes they come across as sharp with their words. And I feel like even if they do say something to someone, because they have no problem with setting boundaries with people, and I feel like even if they hurt someone, they're still respected. And I feel like if person B ever tried to do that, they would come across only people who would get angry at them for doing that. And I feel like they were a little bit jealous of person A because of that. I want to get now into shadow aspects of both of you, because I feel like we will find some answers to why this connection dissipated, like it did in that shadow. Because both of you have this divine aspects of yourselves, and both of you are very spiritual with the prayer and the underworld as your connection. I feel like you met at a wrong time when both of you haven't learned how to be yourselves fully yet. I mean, we're all learning as we go, but that's what I'm feeling here. So I want to get into persons A shadow aspect. In their shadow, they do tend to swing in extremes. On one side, they could be cold and detached from the matters of the heart, or they could like be focusing too hard on their logic. But on the other end of on the spectrum, they could have used their spirituality to avoid the mundane, which they would call drama. I feel like they're this type of person that would just say, "Oh, that's so dramatic," and they would just like not get involved in the drama. Or like, but this could be just real life issues. So I feel like they could be like weaponizing their spirituality against themselves in that way, in their shadow, of course. And this storm aspect of them, which I felt called to say like the inner turmoil, I feel like it can become overwhelming and exhausting to those around them if they used other people as sounding board. That's what I don't know, like a sounding board. They do tend to isolate as well, like use escapism as a coping mechanism. Because they feel too deeply in this shadow, this can be quite turbulent. I want to say. They can be also somewhat judgmental. I feel like they think that their truth is the only truth. They could be very into their version of clarity, and sometimes that can come across as lacking empathy towards others. Like something like being morally superior. For the person B's shadow, I feel like their mask is the biggest part of their shadow. Like they need to learn how to be disliked, because they're hiding away an aspect of themselves that they always wanted to be and someone that they would be proud of becoming, but they can't become that person unless they're disliked. And the empire that they were always meant to build, um, something that was in their contract as well, is what I'm hearing. Like something that they needed to pull down from the spirit world into the physical, something that they needed to build and ground. Like that thing can only become like possible if they start showing up as themselves, like unapologetically. How can anyone truly know them? And how can this connection even be real if one of them is hiding their divinity? I feel like they never had a safe space in other people. And that's why when things get too intense, and I feel like person A is as intense as they can get, um, they withdraw and they get overwhelmed. And I feel like they use their boundaries they set as walls to push people away. If this connection occurred in their shadow aspects, the two of them could have easily swung between like intense emotional periods and profound connection, and then disconnect when things get a little bit more either too vulnerable or too raw. I feel, look at these two. They're the same. Both of you have parts in the dark and beautiful light. I want to talk about this connection now. It feels sacred. It feels transformative. There could be codependency a little bit from their energies that I'm picking up on, but and if they did meet in the shadow, like there could have been a lot of misunderstandings and conflict. And I want to say that without awareness, this connection could be easily too intense for either of them. But because I feel like both of you have this divine aspect of yourselves that you do possess, I feel like it never, there were misunderstandings, especially like towards the end, but I feel like this connection had the potential of being too draining, but it never got to that point. fully. I want to read your guys' letters to each other just to get a feel for where you are in this time of your life, where you guys are in this connection. For some groups, a person A wrote the letter to person B. For some groups, the person B wrote first. For this group, person A wrote the letter to person B first, and the person B responded. So let me read it out to you, and we'll see where they're at. I'm so sorry, group 2. I don't know at what point the camera stopped recording, and I really got far into your reading as well. So I'm going to reread the letters you wrote for each other. We'll be starting from the letter person A wrote to person B. And then we'll continue with your reading. My love, the time I spent away from you was deeply transformational for me. I have realized so much of my own contributions for the way we ended. I now know that I wasn't the person you needed me to be. I was pushing you for answers when you needed space to figure things out. I was at times too harsh and too abrasive when you needed kindness and validation. I became the very person that you learned you needed to hide away from. I'm sorry for not taking the time to truly understand where you're coming from or what is it that you need. I need you to know that what we had mattered to me. It still does. I've been working on myself. I have been learning how to stop and listen instead of turning it all into debate I must win. I need to tell you that I don't expect anything from you. I only hope that one day I would become a person deserving of someone like you. Yours. And B's response to person A. My dear, I also spent a lot of time since we last spoke reflecting on us. I can see that I wasn't always as open or as clear as I should have been. I held it out loud in, avoided conversations, and probably made things harder by not saying how I truly felt. I see that I created distance between us. I can see that it was confusing and frustrating for you to navigate. You brought a level of honesty to our relationship I simply wasn't ready for. I have been working on myself, being more direct and not run away when something matters. You pushed me to grow, and I'm sorry I couldn't have done it when we were together. I don't expect anything from you either. I just wanted to acknowledge my part in all of this and say that I deeply cherish what we had. I just hope that someday we might close this gap between us. Your person. So these were your letters. I want to go back into the connection and talk a little bit about what it would be like if these two people were to reconnect when healed. This would be one of those empowering relationships where one uplifts the other. They would become someone, both of them would become people who didn't lose their identity in the relationship. There would be a lot of healthy boundaries. They would resolve conflict with communication and not arguments. In order for them to become those people, they do need to do more work on themselves and heal a lot more. This person really needs to start showing up in their world as themselves, truly as themselves. And person A really needs to learn how to surrender more in a relationship, how to become more receptive and not insist on certain things as well. And to speak more with kindness and understanding towards another person. I'm going to go into your tarot now and ask a question. What is it that, what is the likely outcome for this for this pair? What is the likely outcome, and what connection between them might look like in the future? Spirit. All right. I feel like as of now, both of you are scared of losing yourselves. I feel like as of now, both of you are in this isolation period, healing period, which is a good thing for yourselves, mostly, primarily. But there is a sense of clarity that you both must attain. We did get the sun, which is basically everything beautiful in life: light, joy, rebirth. So there is a potential for a prosperous connection. But I do see, first and foremost, I do see healing, and I do see some adventure first in your path. I feel like you might be a little bit, right now, I feel like you might be a little bit in your mind too much, or trying to seek clarity around the situation when you could both be surrendering the outcome. Of course, these energies can always change. I will be going into reading from the guidebook from this deck, the counsel part, which is kind of advice part from these cards, which I feel like could be beneficial, especially for your guys' connection. I will start with person A. They got the Wheel of Life in this deck, which is in traditional tarot, Wheel of Fortune. When the wheel appears, you are urged to pay attention to the meaning of the season and the rhythm of your own being. The body has its holy wisdom, its beauty and its blessings, its reasons and its seasons, just like Mother Earth. Reflect on the seasons in your own life, the seeds you've planted, nourished, and harvested with hard work and conviction, the things that you've outgrown and need to leave behind, the dreams that you nourish that have yet to flourish. Pay attention to the rhythm of your body, your feelings, your life. Pay attention to Mother Earth's great cycles of creation, destruction, rest, and rebirth. Consider how you might shift your life to be in harmony with these great currents of energy. And for the person B, they got 6 of water and 10 of fire, and I'm going to read both. Six of water. You cannot direct the river of life. Instead, plunge in, surrender to it, dissolve in it, allow the molecules of your expectations, plans, and intentions to mix with the waters flowing all around you. Let go and let your heart become a vessel of understanding. Let it hold the memories of your life, all of life. To remember, you must allow the waters of life to flow through you. Begin now. Fill the waters of your life with stories before the cormorant appears. Yes, because in this card, the cormorant is diving in to fish out a fish from their habitat. This just goes back to what I said about you truly living as yourself, not as some other people's expectations. You're the only one that knows the way you should live your own life. And if that displeases others, so be it. Ten of Fire. The power of fire is found in countless small moments of joy, insight, gratitude, and kindness, the infinite number of tiny flames that together create the power of your spirit. Observe and honor the forces that flow through your life rather than fighting for power over them, and you'll arrive at the sacred place of sanctuary and reverence where peace and joy are found. Then the spirit of life will burn brightly in you and through you into the world, lighting the way for those who follow. Wow. I feel like these two just connected beautifully, one with the other. And even if you think that the person B, even if they think that their life is a mess and that there are dangers lurking, I don't know if you can see, there are in the shadows, there are wolves in there, but they won't approach this person standing here because there's all this fire around. As long as you shine brightly your own light, dangers will stay away, is what I'm hearing. As for my final thoughts about this connection, is that you two, both of you, are truly remarkable people. Both of you are people that have dealt with a lot of difficulties probably in their lives. And the connection that the two of you had, I don't know how long it lasted, but it was beautiful for what it was. It has a lot of potential, like any connection in life. But this one, as I heard, as I was channeling your messages before I even sat down to film, I heard it's only up to them. This is one of those connections where you truly do have fate in your own hands, both of you. And it's only up to you guys whether or not you will be able to withstand the gravity of this connection with each other. But most importantly for me, what I'm seeing here is that these are two remarkable people who really need to show up in their lives as they are, with kindness and purity in their hearts. And this is where I will leave your group. Thank you so much for being here. I do hope that this reading brought you some clarity. Thank you again, and see you in some other video. Bye. Hi, group 3. If you chose the blue letter, this will be your reading. I will be explaining how the reading will go. I will be arranging the overall energy cards for person A on left side and the cards for person B on the right, and your guys' connection that you guys had will be in the middle. We will be getting into the overall energy for person A, the overall energy for person B. We will be getting into what your relationship likely looked like and why you guys went into separation. We will be getting into the healing aspect of it, like how does it look like for you individually and as a pair possibly. And we will be getting advice from the spirit, from a guidebook that I'm called to read. And at the end, I will read the letters for your group. For some groups, I will read them at the start. For some groups, I read whenever I'm called to throughout the reading. But for your group, I am called to read them at the end because I feel like for your group that you guys might need them as sort of a conclusion, I want to say. Okay, I will be arranging the cards now, and I will see you once everything is set up. I felt called to hold this stone while I do your guys' reading, just so that I can calm myself down. Your connection, as I was channeling it before yesterday, I did feel like this was something not necessarily like connection. It felt like a final separation because your guys' connection energy came out as dead end. I'm gonna talk about person A first, and I will refer to it as you, which is something I haven't done for other groups, because I honestly feel like you are this person who are watching this. I feel like you usually wouldn't even watch this kind of video, and I feel like the only reason you clicked on it was because you were a bit cynical, a bit sarcastic, kind of like I felt like the energy of someone like scoffing as they're like, okay, let's see, okay, fine, let's see what this love reading is gonna be about. But I feel like this connection that ended, I kept hearing dodge the bullet. I'm just gonna go into your energy first. You are someone that tends to only see the good in people, or you used to before this connection. You were someone who would look at people and you would see their soul, and you would then judge people, and I don't mean judge in a negative way, like you would judge people based on what you saw in their soul, but you couldn't, back then you couldn't learn that people oftentimes stray far away from their soul's intentions, and they become, I want to say, chaotic. So you would then get hurt a lot by people, and you would wonder, but why? I haven't sensed this in them, but because you were focusing on an aspect of them that they haven't embodied or couldn't have embodied. It's funny that I mentioned that the reason why you clicked on this video, because I felt this right now as I'm saying it, I felt like you were like, okay, let's see. It was somewhat cynical or sarcastic, and I wrote down. I wrote, when I was channeling for you, I did write down, I hope person A doesn't become cynical after this connection, because true love exists and people with good intentions exist. That's what I wrote down for you. So I do hope that this energy that you're currently in is something that's gonna pass, something that you like an emotion that you have to go through, but that it soon will pass. I'm just fidgeting with my stone here. There is this, I want to say, ancient aspect of you with the crown here. There is this deep, wild wilderness within you, like a true calling that I'm picking up on. And this doesn't have to do with the connection, it's just your overall energy. I'm picking up on this wilderness within you, and it's so loud, and I feel like it must be deafening to you. I feel like the reason why you ended this connection was because that calling you couldn't ignore anymore, and you somehow realized, or you saw the truth. Finally you saw the truth, is what I'm hearing. Like you opened your eyes seemingly overnight about this connection, and you realized that this person was hindering your growth in some way, or was, I want to say, like a wet blanket when it comes to you and your life goals. I feel like you were called to return to yourself. Like I feel like you could have lost yourself in this connection. I also feel like you've been serious for so long and spirit is calling you to let your hair down. But to go back on the connection a little bit, I feel like you are a person that gives way too many second chances. I feel like this time, like, I feel like this time you decided to leave, but it took you a long time for you to decide to do this. You kept going back and forth whether or not you should be doing this. And I feel like this could have gone on for years, these second chances. And I feel like only once something really broke, this could have been like an action that this other person did, or was it from your soul, but there was this crack in you and there was no going back. And you have this aspect of you that your absence is felt once you're gone. And usually, even in friendships that you had to end throughout your life, I feel like your absence is the thing that becomes a catalyst for other people's growth. But I also feel like you don't care at that point. I feel like you give so many second chances that once you decide it's done, like you're done giving your I want to say your all, like your energy, your time, your everything that you put into a connection. I feel like once you're gone, because like you overstay the normal amount of time, and I don't know what's normal for what is normal. So if you become a catalyst for someone else's change, but by that point, because once you say your final goodbyes, you're completely gone, you don't come back, and you don't care if these people change or not, if they heal or not. And I don't mean that in a malicious way. It's just that that's the way you're supposed to protect your energy. I mean, you still have this amazing, kind heart to you, loving heart. And I feel like you still wish these people well, but just far away from you as possible. This is so specific. I feel like this separation was very recent. I feel like you're still I mean, you're in an energy of grieving, howling at the moon. That's what I heard. Sounds funny. I feel like the one thing that I pick up on your energy is something that I feel like at the moment you don't like about yourself. You don't like the fact that you give second chances to people, and you don't like the fact that you have an open heart. And I feel like you feel sad right now. I feel like you love your heart and how big it is, but at the same time, because you got hurt so many times, I feel like you have this need to close yourself off, and spirit doesn't want you to. It's just some people aren't deserving, and this was a major lesson for you. And for the other groups, for other groups, the connection could go either way depending on people who are involved and depending on whether they heal or not, and things like that. But for your group, I really can't say anything like that will say, oh, there's still chance or something like that, because like other groups got 2 or 3 cards for the connection, and you got just this one, the dead end. That's it. I tried to clarify with other cards. I tried to pull other cards, and the only cards that came out were in the same energy. So I just took that one, and I'm gonna, even though I don't want to, I'm gonna go into the energy of person B now. I feel like this person, I don't want to say anything bad, because like this person does have a potential, based on their cards, to become a healed person. But I feel like they're choosing not to. And I feel like the version that you met and the version that you were in a relationship with didn't want to change. I'm sorry if you wanted to hear something else. I feel like they're a person that brings chaos wherever they go, whether it's the workplace or friendships or relationships. I feel like they're the type of person that doesn't really have long-term friends, or they can't stay long enough at a job. I feel like they're very charming at first, but then once people get to know them, it's like, no. They have this mask of a very charming person, and they're hiding this destroyer, the storms inside. I don't want to get into reasons why they're like this. It could be multiple things, and we can have compassion for those things. But when it comes to your connection and the reading that we're focusing on right now, I feel like you kept seeing their soul and refused to, like, you didn't believe in their facade, but you also moved past what they were hiding. I feel like you sensed what they were hiding, you knew what they were hiding, but you also saw past that into something that they didn't embody, into their soul and light that they hid so deep within themselves that it was kind of pointless. Oh, I'm so anxious to give this reading. I feel like there's someone who attracts a lot of conflict in their lives. They thrive on conflict. I feel like they're the type of person that knows instinctively what other people like, and they do those things so people like them, and then they just, once they get what they need, they just stop being that version that they portrayed to the other person. I feel like this crack that I was talking about, what, oh look, there's a storm, there's like a thunder. I feel like they did, I just saw that. I feel like they did something or said something to person A, to you, that caused this crack. And I feel like the reason why they did it was because subconsciously they were pushing you away, because you're the only person that saw past their facade. And because they don't like this darkness that they're hiding, that's why they know what they're hiding. That's why they're playing someone who they're not. And because you see past it, you're triggering something in them, like a need for change that they are uncomfortable with at the moment. And that's why they were like either lashing out or something to you. Like their ego couldn't handle you seeing their real self. They also, I feel like, act like everyone is against them. And going back to them not being able to hold on to any meaningful relationships or jobs, I'm also hearing they do tend to burn bridges. I don't want to tap into this energy any longer, so I'm just gonna say my final thoughts about them, and then I'm gonna focus on your connection and what happened. I'm gonna shift my awareness to you now, because I just want to say about them, they do have this ability to heal, of course, like every person on this earth has, and but they also have immense ability, based on what I'm seeing here and picking up on their energy, to hurt others, and it's up to them which they choose, and whatever they do, it comes with consequences, and that's all I have as advice for them. In the beginning of this connection, because I did that for other groups as well, I feel like in the beginning you were amazed by this person, by their strength, by something they did, and I feel like they were also charming, and they were very like a gentleman, like bought you flowers, or was overall this incredible person, until their true self started showing. And I feel like it didn't take too long, because you do tend to see past everyone's initial uh, fake portrayal of selves, people's personas. That's what I wanted to say. I heard when I was channeling something, I was reviewing my notes here, and I wrote down it was over before it began. That's what I heard then. This connection was always meant to serve as a catalyst for healing. You could say for both, but I'm going to focus on you. I feel like whatever happened really did change you in a more profound way. And I feel like I don't like the fact that if you feel like you have to close off your heart, because I feel like that's the last thing spirit wants you to do. I feel like the best thing you can do for yourself to take away out of this situation is that you're more discerning when it comes to new people. It's a good thing to have a big heart in this world, but it doesn't have to be in a naive way. You can still have a big heart and be discerning when it comes to people, to sort of not believe everyone in what they pretend to be. I feel like you trust people's words, or trusted people's words a lot. I feel like you held on as long as you could and gave your all until everything was spent in you. Everything, like you were holding on to something that was over, like long ago. And I'm going to go back to that, before it began. And it was never meant to stay that long. I feel like your guys' reading is going to be the shortest one. And I'm sorry that I can't give you more about this, but it's just that it's such a clear-cut energy. And I just want to get into your healing for now, because this is, in my eyes, like this is over. um, and so that's why your reading is going to be the shortest one, because there's no alternate versions that I can tap into here. And I feel like you know that. I feel like you're kind of feeling, if you're like hearing this, I feel like you're feeling satisfied with the word said, because it's like giving you validation of what you already knew. Like you already know all this. There's a lot of beauty that awaits you in your life. And I feel like you already know this. I feel like there's an aspect of you that the reason why you left so sudden was because you tapped into all of your possibilities and all of what I feel like you experienced something like an intuitive gift, or something from spirit, like a gift that spirit gave you, where you sensed the abundance that awaits you, and that's why you even realized that this was hindering that what you were always meant to receive. So I feel like you already know that all of your blessings and all of the great aspects of life that await you. I feel like you will get a chance at a do-over at something. I don't know what this is. You will get a chance at a do-over at something, only smarter this time, is what I'm hearing. This could be a new relationship, or this could even be like something that you tried to pursue while you were in this connection and couldn't, and that thing kept failing, probably because there was this energy that was siphoning you or your life energy. And I hear that you will get a chance at another go at this, and this time it will work because you're free. Your energy is open and free. I do want to read about your overall energies from this guidebook now, and then I am gonna pull just one card, a couple of cards from tarot, just to see. For other groups, I did a reading like where will the like how will this connection proceed in the future, like what is the likely outcome for this connection in the future. So I am gonna, I want to say for shits and giggles, I am gonna pull cards on the same aspect, but I will ask a question as well about what your own future will look like, because I do want to focus on you that's watching this, because I feel for you. I'm gonna read your advice, counsel from Spirit that I was called to read first, and then I'm gonna read theirs. When the moon appears and the wild calls, what will you choose? The illusory safety of your city tower, the sanctuary of a witch's cottage with its tiny light shining in the forest? You can't pretend that's wildness. Howl at the moon, race with wolves, swim with otters, fly with owls. Look back into the far distance and see the light from your cottage window. Feel a pang of sorrow for all that you have let go, then turn to the moon above and feel a shiver of delight as you hear the answering howl of your companions. Watch the moon, follow its rhythm in the sky, see how it pulls the tides below. Feel that pull within you, rising and subsiding. Feel the moon in your body, in your heart, in your mind. When you choose to return to your cottage and community, you'll return changed, free, whole and holy, blessed by the moon. I'll go back to you because I did get a little download as I was reading this for you, but I want to end on that as well. For person B, this is a card of warning. It shows both sides of fire, one that is natural and life-sustaining, and the other reflecting humanity's abuse of the element. Which do you see? That to change the world, you must first change yourself. How do you hold your own power? Do your words make you selfish, angry, even abusive, or draw those who are? Take time for reflection and healing. Find ways to honor and harness your fire that will contribute to your own happiness and to creating an empowering, supportive, and diverse community. Wherever you find it, small changes lead to big ones. Spirit is kinder than me, so the thing I channeled for you right now, the thing I heard from Spirit as I was reading this for you right now, when I was starting with your reading today, I did mention something along the lines of you letting your hair down. When I read this, it said, "Howl at the moon, run with the otters that are here in the water on the card." I do feel like this is something you need to, I don't know, go out with your friends, laugh at life a little bit, experience the joys that you were blocked from for so long. I feel like you were grieving a lot even within this connection, and that's why after this ended, I don't get a sense that you are devastated, because I feel like it was a long time coming, and I don't know what you envision in your mind's eye when you hear the word freedom. But for me, freedom is, whenever I hear the word freedom, for me it simply is running on a meadow, picking flowers and making flower crowns. I don't know, like that childlike level of freedom, what we experienced when we were children. When we were kids, we would run with our friends, and we would laugh and scream, and we would, I don't know, make up games. We would have games where we would throw, who can throw rocks the farthest, or I don't know, like we would pretend so many different things. We would make up so many games when we were kids, and our imaginations ran wild. That's what I feel like this is referring to when it says your wilderness within, because your wilderness within is something that you only know what it is. It can look like, for the first time, going somewhere alone, like traveling alone, if you were called to do that. If you were in this relationship that wasn't allowing you a lot of time and space to be free and do everything, like, remember that you have free will. The other day, I want to share something from my own life. The other day, I wanted to. I was painting these for this reading, and I kept looking around the house because my kitchen table was a bit cluttered, and I was looking around the house like, oh, where am I gonna paint? I didn't feel like putting the mess away, and I thought to myself, wait, I have free will. I don't live with my parents. I'm not a child anymore. I can do whatever I want. And I remembered that I can do that. So I took the watercolors, I took a glass of water, and I sat on my bed. And I was like, but what if you spill the dirty water on your bed? And I was like, okay, I'll wash the duvet. It's like, it's fine. And nothing happened. It was fine. But I felt this wave of, oh my God, I have free will. So I feel like, and it's such a small example, but it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me in the moment. So I feel like whatever that is for you, you're gonna know. And to tap into that and explore that, no matter how small you think it is, small steps accumulate into big ones, and everything you do accumulates over time. The same way in the past the sorrow did. So joy can accumulate into something big, and one day you will look back to this moment and you will say to yourself, wow, I was like, I remember feeling differently. I remember feeling the sorrow or grief or whatever it is you're feeling, and you're gonna say to yourself, wow, I feel so good in my own skin. Thank God I went through whatever I did go through that led me to this point. And I'm just tapping into your future that is like likeliest. Um, okay, so okay, I'm just gonna go for it. What is the likely outcome for this connection, Spirit? What is the likely outcome for this connection? Spirit doesn't want to participate. Okay. What is that? 7 of Cups in reverse, I think. Let me see. Oh, the Hangman in reverse as well. There are a couple of cards behind it. Let me see what they are. Strength in reverse. 3 of Swords. 3 of Cups. Okay. Let me just arrange them. I'm not called to take all of them because they did fall in one group, so I never do. But I am called to take a few. Strength in reverse seemed important, and the 3 of Cups seemed important. I feel like the dead end card only got clarified here by these 3 in reverse. The Hangman in reverse talks about a standstill, and not being able to get out of a situation. There's a lot of pride involved, a lot of lot of I want to say even weakness, and I don't mean it in a physical sense, or I don't even mean in a mind kind of sense. I feel like there's this weakness in spirit when it comes to this connection. And I am going to keep it a little bit vague. I feel like this connection, if you were to stay in it, it would only lead to disappointment. But given the fact that you did leave and you did choose yourself, that's what I heard, you chose yourself, I feel like you can only prosper now. There's this celebration and freedom. Birds also represent freedom in my eyes. There's freedom. You can fly. I finished with your guys' reading, and then I remembered I didn't read your letters to each other. For some groups, person A wrote the letter to person B, and then the person B responded. For other groups, it was other way around. Whatever came to me in a moment, whatever I felt like actually would have happened in reality. So in this case, this person wrote to you. So I'm gonna go ahead and read. Also, in other groups, the letter would start with "my dear," this and this, or "my love," or something like that. For your group, I didn't feel called to write anything, dear something or something like that. I just left a blank space, so you can start this letter however you feel like they would. Let's just get into it. So, blank. I've started this letter a few times and ripped it. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say to you. Part of me still thinks you left too easily. I know you would disagree with that, and I can already hear it. You'd say something like, I made it impossible to stay. Maybe you're right. Honestly, I didn't think you'd be gone this long either. In the past, we would always somehow find our way back. I assumed we could this time too. Still, I'm not writing this because I want to restart anything, and I don't want to turn this into anything that gets picked apart later. I just thought after everything, it was weird to end on a blank page. And then signed blank. Your response to them was one of the favorite things I ever channeled. I read your letter. I'm not going to go back and forth about how or why things ended. You are allowed to feel how you feel. I'm not interested into bending reality into something more digestible for either of us anymore. All I know is that I stayed past my limit. There isn't anything unfinished on my side. It was a decision I was arriving at for a really long time. I do mean when I say I hope you figure things out for yourself. Take care. And this is why I left your guys' letters for the end, because I feel like it's just a little like a nice little bow at the end to wrap up this reading. I know that this reading was really specific and it was for a specific kind of energy, and I hope that it did find whoever it meant to find in the time it meant to find them. Because I did want to state clearly that this energy that I was picking up on was someone who recently ended something for their own highest good, and that's the biggest confirmation that you can take away from this reading, if it was for you or not. And that being said, this is where I'm gonna leave you your reading. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope it brought you some clarity and what is the word that I'm looking for? Closure. Oh God, I wanted to say closure the whole time. I hope it brought clarity and closure to you or something. And I do hope to see you some other time. Bye. Hi there, group 4. If you chose the pinky, orange, yellow letter, this will be your reading. Let me immediately get into it, because you guys got a lot of cards. both individually and for your connection. So I'm eager to get into your reading, but I want to explain how it will go. On one side, I will arrange the cards for person A. On the other side, I will arrange the cards for person B. You can pick and choose which side you resonate the most. I might get confused and sometimes say you, depending on whoever I feel like is you. But disregard that because you can decide which one resonates with you the most. In the middle, I will arrange the cards for your guys's connection energy, and we'll be getting into your overall energy, person B's overall energy, what your relationship was like, why likely you got into separation. We will mostly be getting into what does healing look like for you individually or as a couple, perhaps. At some point during the reading, we will be reading your guys's letters to each other. I'm not sure at what point in this reading, in your group, I will read it. For some, I read it immediately. For others, I read it at the end, and for some, I read somewhere in the middle, whenever I felt most called to read it. Then we'll be getting into advice from Spirit that I felt called to read from a guidebook from this deck that I will be using. And then we'll wrap up with some final thoughts. I will arrange the cards now and I will see you then. For your group, as when I was channeling your guys' messages, and what Spirit had to share about this connection, I did kept hearing the song Dandelions. And I think that the same thing happened for group one. I don't know, that song must have been stuck in my head or something, but it might be a confirmation for someone. I want to get into all of this immediately, so I'm going to start with the person A and explain a little bit about their overall energy. Person A feels like someone they got the cards, the lover, the one, and the vow. I feel like they're someone who experiences life in general, especially love, as something faded. They feel everything deeply. They're drawn to experiences of, they're usually drawn to themes of destiny when it comes to their life. They tend to be this person that is, when they're in a relationship, they feel all or nothing kind of vibes. They're also, I'm hearing they're this way when it comes to friendships as well. They're also someone that tends to bond with someone through depth of the experience rather than time. So they can feel, even if they only recently meet someone, they feel, I'm hearing they have a tendency to trauma bond. They're someone that likes to know the depths of other people, and they don't shy away from deep conversations even with the people they just meet, and that's how they bond and create these deep relationships. I feel like they can't do casual, like even if they did try, it feels wrong to them. Like, because this is a separation reading, that's how we know you guys are in separation. But I feel like because to you this connection was faded, that's how you felt, and you could be right. It could be some soulmate connection or divine counterpart type connection, but I'm feeling like even after the breakup or the separation, you still continue to have strong feelings, because in your heart it was fated. So you persist in your feelings. They don't die down. They're very loyal. They believe in the concept of the one. And that just means that they don't connect easily with just about anyone. But when they do, it does feel otherworldly to them, just because they don't let just anyone in. This can lead to them idolizing their partners. Because I said that, that's why I feel called to shift my focus to the Thanatos card here. It is a card of self-destruction. It is a kind death card, if that makes sense. So this person can be a person that feels drawn to people who are intense or unavailable. Like, they tend to stay even if it gets difficult, because to them the connection is so meaningful. They misinterpret mixed signals as well. They have this beautiful aspect of them where they're the person that picks up on smallest details, like the best gift giver. Like, they pick up on such tiny details. They remember a story you told them a long time ago, and they repeat it in such a weird time as well, and you're like, how do you even remember that? I said that like 3 weeks ago, and like randomly. And they're the type of person that does like wants to do everything to make the person they're with happy. Let's just for now shift our focus to person B, and then we'll go get back into their shadow and what they have to heal. Person B feels like someone who is magnetic. I want to say they're this alluring. They have this alluring quality to them. They pull people in, and people often think of them as mysterious. Even they're the life of the party. They're quite well versed when it comes to like social situations, and they're very intuitive when it comes to people. They intuitively pick up on other people's energies, and they know what other people need, but in the best way possible, I want to say. But because they come across as mysterious, they're hard to kind of pin down. Everyone in their life, no matter how unimportant that connection seems, like for example co-workers or random people, acquaintances they have, and random people they meet, everyone feels like they know them, but when in fact all they do is project onto them. So I feel like they are either someone who is praised a lot, or it's someone who gets, like, people talk bad behind their back, but no one really knows them because they share so little about them. So it's not like they're wearing a mask. I'm not saying that they're wearing a mask. It's just that they don't share a lot. So people put on them the versions that they feel like they are, but all they're doing is showing who they are. I'm sorry if this is confusing. There's a lot of they involved here. I feel like both of these people, but mostly I'm picking this up here, they crave being truly seen. And they deeply desire that level of a connection, but once they do encounter it in a in someone like person A, they avoid it. I'm hearing like a plague. And just like person A, they do also make other people feel special in the way they care, like especially one-on-one. In large groups, they don't talk a lot. Like they are good in social situations, but they don't talk a lot, which only makes them like makes their this mysterious facade that they placed on themselves like firmly attached to them in these situations. This is just how they're being perceived. I'm not saying that this is who they truly are as people. In reality, they often like in their own perception of the world, they often feel overlooked or misunderstood. They play the part of the observer, but mostly like a protective mechanism, I want to say. They do hide in these big parts of themselves intentionally, but then they say like no one really sees me. And in reality, they're probably petrified that if they showed their true self, they would be rejected. So they would rather put on this persona of this detached, cold person just to protect themselves. They in fact have a rich and deep inner world, and sadly, not a lot of people has access. I mean, I don't want to say sadly because they do it to protect themselves, but sadly, they do not allow certain people in who would be deserving of witnessing their inner world. I'm also hearing that it's not like they don't do it on purpose. It's just that they haven't encountered a lot of people with high EQ, like wide enough emotional bandwidth to withhold their deep inner world. I feel like they are perfectly capable of holding other people's because other people's aren't as deep as theirs, so they can hold other people's emotional aspects and their true selves, but they rarely encounter someone that can reciprocate, and that scares them if they do encounter someone that can. With this, the shapeshifter card, I want to say, like, this reminds me a little bit of me, but they do tend to shapeshift into whoever they're talking to. And I'm not saying that in like they don't have their own sense of self. I'm saying that like they're mirroring other people, and that's also the reason why some people don't like them, because if they don't like aspects of themselves, they're mirroring back to them what they don't like to see. But that's also the reason why a lot of people love them. And it's not just like that they mirror other people when it comes to the shapeshifter. It's not like they're just mirroring people. It's that like they're one person when they're with their family, they're another person when they're with their friends, they're the third person when they're at work, which is kind of like we all do it. Like it's not like you can treat your boss the same way you would your sister. But to them, all those versions are real. It's not like they're pretending to be someone else at work. Their real self comes out at work, but it's a different kind of self. So I want to go back to this person A. I want to get into their shadow aspect because I am picking up a little bit on that. They could potentially get quite obsessive when it comes to love. And maybe they can get entangled in toxic partnerships too. They stay attached to someone. I mentioned mixed signals before, and they do tend to stay with someone that gives them mixed signals because they confuse their what they perceive as faded and deep connection with inconsistency. And this could lead back to their childhood or early childhood experiences they had. But I feel like they confuse the anxiety they have from inconsistency with love sometimes, if left unhealed in their shadow aspect. I'm not saying this person is like this at the moment. But this person, if in their shadow aspect, they can be somewhat dependent on other people's validation. And also because they keep people at arm's length, sometimes I feel like they don't really know, because they have these aspects of themselves that are unseen by everyone, and sometimes if they leave them unchecked for too long, they feel like they don't even know who they are, because they keep people at arm's length, because they can't be, like, in their shadow, they can't be vulnerable. And this is what I'm picking up on. Like for groups 1 and 2, I did this to see what's the likely reason why this connection ended, and I feel like I'm picking up on their shadow aspect a lot, both of them, clearly, because they were in a connection, and you can only be with someone that is I want to say attracting the frequency of another. So I feel like they were a good match at the time, but I feel like they were in this relationship, and in the beginning they created this, both of them created this strong romantic bond. They got addicted to this bond, but then things got too real for person B, and then they started pulling their energy back, but they didn't pull it all the way back. It, like, I feel like they pulled their energy back just enough so that the other person kept trying, just so that person A kept trying. And that wasn't kind, I feel like. Let's go into healing. If person A heals, they become a person that can still love deeply, but if someone can't meet them at the level that they're at, they developed self-respect enough to walk away without losing themselves in the relationship. Because I feel like in this relationship, they did lose themselves a little bit. They do crave emotional intimacy. They do crave something real, something deep. They do crave being fully seen by their partner, and they deserve that partner to be present and not to run when they're encountered by, when they encounter their I want to say rawness. And I feel like once they heal, they will attract someone safe, someone consistent, and someone who can regulate themselves. Like, the key is to learn not to be consumed by the connection. That's the key for them. To still exist with as themselves individually, even within a connection, if that makes sense. When healed, they also become someone who has no problem setting boundaries. And from that place, they then learn how to choose partners who can actually meet them where they are. And for the person B, if they heal, they become a person capable of vulnerability and authenticity. They become secure attachment style. I mean, don't we all, if we heal our wounded attachment styles? But they have these aspects that are like perfect to create safe and secure space for another person. they would still retain their, I want to say, layers, like their parts of themselves that aren't visible to everyone. Their intrigue. They can still keep some of that mystery, but in a healthy way, where another person doesn't feel confusion. They're comfortable being seen with boundaries as well. They also provide a safe space for other people to be seen by them. What they need is a stable sense of self to be consistent with themselves and others. Like, they require a relationship where they don't feel like they have to perform. Okay, let's get into your guys' connection. What it felt like in the beginning. I feel like in the beginning, this relationship was full of fast emotional intimacy and some other kind of intimacy. I don't know. But like, it was fast, very serious. The two of you had long conversations about deep topics, kind of philosophical. There was a lot of push and pull energy, but it was intoxicating. Person A felt like they found they're the one, and B felt like that finally someone sees them for who they are. They both felt something strong, but neither of them knew how to clearly define the relationship or their needs within the relationship, their individual needs within the relationship. And I feel like at some point, once the person B started to withdraw, person A then pushed for, what are we? What is this relationship? They pushed to get answers, which only pushed B further into withdrawal. And I'm also sensing that some harsh words in that conversation. There was a conversation that led to this, but I feel like in this conversation, there were perhaps some harsh words exchanged that led to this separation. And I feel like both of them accepted it quite well because of it. At first, I think. Or I feel like because of this last conversations that they had, I feel like A was the person that finally accepted the fact that this wasn't enough for them and that they can't keep abandoning themselves, which propelled them to their own healing journey. I feel like this was a connection, and I'm not sensing that this separation was recent. I'm sensing that there was quite some time that passed from the separation. But I feel like whatever triggered the separation fully launched person A into their own healing journey, and person B as well. But I'm feeling it strongly here, especially with this image of this craftsman of fire, how they're wielding away in this what is this called? Anvil, I think, and I'm not sure. That they're working away hard next to this blazing fire, and they were chiseling away at their own psyche, which led them to their awakening. Person B felt towards the end felt like they were suffocated by this connection. Like if they stay, they would feel exposed or controlled, and they simply couldn't give A what A needed out of this relationship. And it's not something, it wasn't anything crazy that they were asking for either. It was just something beyond their ability to give. I'm hearing it became unsustainable at that point. Like it was too strong, too fast. It burned quite quickly, and then it became something that neither of them could hold, contained. This relationship definitely feels like a catalyst kind of relationship. I do sense a lot of healing from both in separation. Whether they reunite or not is up to both of them to heal first. But even if they don't, this relationship likely changed both of them in a way that shapes them for all their future connections, and not just romantic ones. So I feel like, I don't know if this is what you want to hear or not, whichever side is watching, but just know that you could potentially one day have a sense of gratitude, if not already, for this connection, because it brought on so much from the subconscious to the light. I felt called to read your guys' letters now. In this, for some groups, person B wrote the letter to person A first, or person A wrote the letter to person B first, depending on the connection and what their likely energies. In this case, person B wrote the letter to person A in your guys' case. I will say blank, so you can fill it up with either your name or whether it's you that's writing it with their name, or the nickname you guys had for each other, whatever you feel called to. I just wrote down blank. So this is person B to person A. Hey, my blank. I thought about writing this for a while. There's so much I couldn't say back then, and maybe I'm still not ready to say it all, but I want to say some of it. I know I pulled away, and I'm sorry for the pain that caused. The truth is, part of me didn't want to leave, but I was scared of how much I felt. I still think about the moments we shared and how we were always somehow on the same wavelength. I don't want to make this harder than it already is for both of us, but I can't pretend I don't miss us, and I can't stop wondering what it would have been like if I had been braver back then. Yours, blank. And person A's response to the letter. Hey, blank. I read your letter more than once trying to figure out what to say. It means a lot to hear you admit that. I know that wasn't easy for you. I can see that you are torturing yourself, and that makes me sad. The truth is, during our time together, I knew I came on too strong. I tried to hold on to you because I confused our intensity for love. Part of me now sees I was holding on to my fears just as hard. I won't lie and say that I don't ever think about us. You meant a lot to me. There is a part of me that will always carry some of what we had. I'm not trying to reach back or change anything. I'm just sometimes wondering what it could have been if we had both been ready at the same time. Signed, blank. The letters you guys wrote for each other, or the energies I channeled that you feel for each other at the moment, feel to me that you two both are in this deep healing journey individually, and that the person B has started to feel like they're now realizing what they lost. Person A, on the other hand, has been on their own healing journey far longer than person B, and is at a place where they're just coming to terms with the loss of this connection. And not to say that it's a permanent separation, but it is to say that no one knows whether or not this will lead to reunion or not. But I feel like person A definitely doesn't know that, and at this point in their life, they don't benefit from keeping the hope alive. I feel like that's how they feel. So I did sense a little bit of a lot of actually compassion for person B, just because I feel like they are further on their healing journey, and they have this I want to say even motherly fondness towards person B, like this nurturing aspect of them. And I feel that they feel for person B and where they're at on their healing journey, but they also know, because they went through it, they also know that it is absolutely necessary for them to go through whatever it is they're currently experiencing or feeling. And that this might seem cold to person B. I'm not saying that you guys talk to each other or not, but these are just the energies that I'm picking up on, maybe from your guys' higher selves or something. Maybe person B has a level of resentment of well, how could they just, like, I know I pulled back first, but how could they just leave me in all of this alone? I feel like they were a bit addicted themselves to some of your energy, loving energy that you provided for this relationship. And now they're seeing that once it is gone from their life, now they're seeing that it, what it truly felt like to be seen, and how much they miss it once they got back to their own lives, and what they experienced in their own lives, what they experienced in their own realities, and the lack of someone like person A. I will read your guys's advice. I'm so sorry, guys. The audio must have cut off right as I was about to read your guys's advice. So I'm gonna reread those, but the video will continue as normal right after I was done with these advice counsel from the guidebook. So I'm gonna reread the counsel for Craftsman of Fire, person A. There is power within you that has a purpose. Conditions may be challenging and you may have to work in darkness or alone, but your efforts will make you strong. Whatever you create, forge your relationship to the sacred fire that transforms all things, and your work will be blessed. So this card really talks about hard work and honing your skills, pursuing your calling, and trusting in your abilities and strength. And for a person that is represented as Witch of Earth, you're being called to serve something greater than yourself, something that will make you greater than you are. Service to Mother Earth will give you purpose and courage. It will give you magic. It will give you and the earth healing. Some skills are instinctual, others have to be learned. The wisest teacher is Mother Earth herself. Approach the Earth Witch with respect and learn how to work with the divine power you embody. This card talks about challenges, service, purpose, commitment, courage, preparing for battle also. I can't really remember what I was saying in the original video where I was talking, but I know that I was really focusing on how the person A has to focus on themselves at this time of their life and at this stage where they're at, and person B, both people really have to focus on themselves. And I feel like person B is at this stage where they could be feeling everything all at once, and I got the sense that they might be a little bit ungrounded at this time. And if you are this person, advice from spirit would be to connect with Mother Earth and connect with nature, because the more present you are, the easier the guidance will trickle in for you, for this person. So I will let the video continue from now. Okay, spirits, so can you please tell me where this connection is likely headed in the future? Oh wow, 8 of Swords came out. A lot of Swords. This one was in reverse. Which one is it? Knight of Swords. Both of these are in reverse. Are they? Yeah. We have the Lovers in reverse, we have Ace of Cups in reverse, we have Eight of Swords upright, and Knight of Swords in reverse. You're still grieving each other. You're still experiencing the loss of the other person, and I feel like you could be way too focused on this connection to see where you have to go in life. I feel like you who is watching this is relevant for you. You who is watching this could be still in that a little bit of a self-destructive phase in life where you're pouring a lot into this connection, and how, because you feel like it was fated, you feel like, oh, but we were meant to be. And even if that was the case, even if that was the biggest truth, like, you need to understand that the separation happened because it had to happen, and that your way out of this is known to you. And I feel like if you pour all of your attention to this connection, I feel like you will miss so many opportunities in life. Also, I'm hearing be very wary of becoming cynical. Any advice for our group 4 spirit? For the person watching, any advice, spirit? I feel like we've said a lot about healing and what your next steps in healing should be. And I feel like the best... Tower in reverse. And I feel like the best course of action for you is to let something that you're experiencing die away. 8 of Wands in reverse. I'm not going to take them all. I'm just going to take the 8 of Wands. The World is on the back of the deck. Let me see what this card is. Death. For the person watching, you're experiencing a lot of frustration at the moment, a lot of uncertainty in your own life, and you're called to let something that's gone burn away. Let it leave. Let it exit your life. Let these energies that aren't serving you exit your life. If you have been way too focused on this connection, I feel like this could likely be about this connection. And the path you're meant to take in this lifetime will only reveal itself to you. Like, this blindfold that you have will be taken off once you process, I want to say grief. I don't know. Not sure. Whether or not this connection was meant to be or wasn't in the future, we don't know that, but I feel like you have more important work to do. Craftsman on Fire is talking about hard work, and I feel like if you are this person, even if you're this person, like, I feel like you have a lot of work to do on yourself, that this connection simply cannot be all you put your focus on. With the World on the back of the deck, with the World, there's a lot of fulfillment that you're still meant to experience in this life. Not everything is this one situation in your life. I'm called to pull another card. Is there anything Group 4 needs to hear right now? Is there anything else you would like to share with Group 4, Spirit? I'm hearing, like, especially if Two of Pentacles is upright and Three of Cups in reverse. I'm also hearing, let me get into this later, but like I'm also hearing, like, especially if this connection ended on ended sour, like I hear sour, something like left a sour taste in your mouth. That's more the reason why you should be shifting your focus away from this for a while. There's a choice you have to make. There is a balance you have to attain in your life in order to prosper. That's what I'm hearing. In order to prosper, there's balance you must attain. And with that, I will be leaving your reading. Thank you guys so much for being here. I do hope that this reading found you when it needed to find you, and that it brought you some confirmation that you needed to hear, or clarity around the situation that you didn't have before, or validation if you did know all this yourself already. I do wish you all the best in the world, and I hope to be channeling for you again soon. Bye. Hi, Group 5. If you chose I want to say aquamarine. It reminds me of the ocean. Okay, so the ocean letter. This will be your reading. The reading will go something like person A will be on one side, person B will be on the other side, and you can choose to whichever energy you resonate the most. Sometimes I will probably slip up and say you, based on whether or not I feel more connected to that energy, based on the fact that you're the one that's watching it. So sometimes I'm gonna say for Group 1 that's you if I'm resonating that way, but please disregard that, because it can be either way. That's for you to decide. First, we will get into the overall energy for person A, and then overall energy for person B. What was their relationship like in the beginning? So we will be getting into the energy of their connection, and based on what I channeled for that connection, why they went into separation likely, and what does healing look like for them, both individually and as a couple potentially. At some point, I will read the letters you guys wrote for each other, or basically it's what what you guys wish you could say to each other. I'm not sure at what point I will read them, because for other groups, I would either read them at the beginning or at the very end or somewhere in the middle, whenever I felt most called to do it. Then I will be getting into a counsel from Spirit, which I will read from the guidebook for your overall energy signifier cards that I pulled. And then I will close off with some final thoughts about where you guys potentially could be headed. I will be arranging the cards now, and I'll see you once that's done. Okay, we're back. When I was channeling messages for your guys' connection, I did get a sentence pop into my head. You met in shadow, and now you're stepping into the light. That seemed relevant to me enough, and I wrote it down for you guys. I will immediately get into your guys' energy, because I did get a sense of familiarity with both of your energies. So, okay, person A. Person A is or was someone who is deeply empathetic and emotionally in tune with other people. They are someone who often had to act like a mediator in a friend group or with colleagues. They probably carried this characteristics from their childhood home environment, where they had to play the role of the peacemaker often. I did get a sense with the orphan here. I picked up on an abandonment wound. And when we were mentioning the workplace as well, there's someone who is very intelligent, someone who excels in most things that they do, and they can be a little bit like a perfectionist. This can make them overcommit at work as well, is what I'm hearing, and they have a tendency to overwork themselves, both in their private lives as well as their work. Because they fear being abandoned, they have trouble saying no, and then this leads to them spreading themselves way too thin. And this then leads to resentment towards others until they resolve that no one else is, I'm hearing like no one else is forcing them to overcommit, but they do have a trouble saying no. And they have to learn how to not abandon themselves and their own needs in the process. And I'm feeling like you are already there, like this person is learning this. I feel like they were very lonely in their life. They haven't met people who could understand them. Um, because in relationships, they're usually the ones attuned to the needs of others. That's why they feel lonely in connections. Like no one knows them the way they know them, the way they know others. And I feel like this feeling of loneliness persisted because they weren't paying attention to their own needs first. You know the saying, like no one will love you if you don't love yourself. That focuses on your needs as well. Like no one will take care of you if you don't take care of yourself first. And speaking of connections, I'm hearing that they fall way too hard in love because they look past the person and see the potential and focus on the potential rather than the reality of the relationship. They could have been in the past desperate to feel like they finally belong somewhere or to someone, that they struggle, but at the same time they're struggling to trust others as well. I'm sensing a little bit of insecurity too. They also could be over explaining themselves when it comes to connections. Like they're afraid of losing people and they're afraid of being misunderstood to a point where they over communicate in a relationship. And sometimes people are determined to misunderstanding you. I am going to shift my focus to person B now, but I am going to go back and forth a little bit depending on what I'm talking about. Person B is also very empathetic. That's why they connected in the beginning, because person A never met someone like person B, and vice versa. They have this very nurturing energy, which this orphan side of person A haven't really encountered in their own lives, in their own home environment. So they kind of clinged onto person B for this feeling of belonging, for this feeling of being taken care of. Person B is the type of person that they have this vast capacity to hold other people's emotions, and they hold space for others, but I'm sensing that they also have the tendency to take on too much of other people's energies. And this leads to them having to go into solitude a lot to recharge. They're also very wise, very intuitive, very independent also. I feel like in the early days of this connection, A had a lot to learn from person B in the beginning. Person B has this calm and grounding aura around them, and people instinctively trust them. And I feel like person A, I keep hearing like they've never met someone like you. I've never met someone like you. I've never met someone like you. When it comes to, I feel like this was maybe one of the hiccups in the relationship. Um, Person B knows what they bring to the table, and they require a level of reciprocity when it comes to emotional labor that they put in a relationship. And honestly, good for them. Because often we hear about one of the partners doing all the emotional labor in a relationship, and that never works, because that's when the person gets fully depleted. I'm also getting that they have this strong set of personal values that they live by. I want to focus on their shadow aspect. If the two of you met while unhealed or in your shadow, I feel like person B can seem overly critical or distant. I feel like they have a tendency to withhold emotionally or reject intimacy out of fear of rejection. And person A, I'm sensing, have this aspect of them that is people pleasing, and they can be quite self-sacrificing or hesitant to act for the better of themselves, because of also fear of rejection and abandonment. So I feel like they were this is their I don't want to say trauma bond, but this is like their core wound that attracted the two of them if they met in shadow element. However, given the archetypes that we have here for the person B, I am inclined to think that this person is currently, with the energy that is currently here, like I'm sensing that they're fully present and nurturing and capable of maintaining healthy boundaries, which is something that they did need to work on. But currently on their journey, this is where they're at. And I feel like for person A, they are I want to say currently, like that they feel like I feel like a lot of emotional burden on them, and it's not theirs to carry. I feel like they have to learn how to let some of the bridges fall. They don't have to be the bridge in other people's connections so much. This is what I'm sensing that they have to learn. And having the comic here with the king, as for their relationship energy, I am sensing that this relationship came about when both of them in their individual lives needed a period of lightness, if that makes sense. Like they were on their healing journeys even before they met. So I'm not getting that this relationship served as a catalyst for growth. I'm sensing that these people were already on their healing journeys when they met. But because they were experiencing maybe some ego deaths, or maybe even something in their physical realities, like losing people around them, or I don't know, whatever it may be, that is very, very hard for one person. I feel like after a period of that, they met and they clinged on to each other for laughter, for ease, because it was very easy to exist. What, at least in the beginning of this relationship, it was easy for them to exist one with the other. I'm sensing that both of them found each other refreshing, because because they're both so empathetic, and both are used to people draining them and not really filling each other's cup. So I feel like in the beginning of their relationship, there was a lot of mutual understanding and respect, and lightness. I keep sensing lightness between them. But at the same time, having apocalypses here, not just the, it doesn't really signify here how the relationship ended. I'm more so picking up that there's another sort of energy that I'm picking up on as well. Because if this pair met while they were in their shadow aspects, likely what happened was that person B's hyper independency and fear of intimacy triggered A's fear of abandonment and rejection, and A could have leaned on B for to hold them, to pour into them this emotional weight that they've been carrying after being, for example, like if they were being a mediator for literally everyone and anyone in their lives, and if they were using person B to hold that weight for them, I feel like they were crossing boundaries that person B would set. And I feel like in any version, this care they had for each other is the reason why they separated. Because if they cared about each other in the beginning and are both empathetic, I feel like on some level they knew what they were doing to each other and that it wasn't working. And I feel like I want to almost say they broke up out of self-preservation, and it was mutual. I feel like this relationship acted as a place to teach them both lessons about how much, what, and to whom they can give. But this relationship also served as a trigger for, I want to say, lasting growth. I do want to tap into another thing that I sensed right now, and that is that A could have had a need to read person B. Like, I'm hearing reading between the lines or responding to subtext, rather than allowing feelings of unease to exist long enough so that that person B can share without, so they can share what is weighing on them. I feel like in this shadow B version B, person B would have to learn how to communicate more openly, so that their withholding of feelings doesn't trigger A's anxieties. Because I feel like A would kind of push B to share with them, like they share with them. But if they weren't ready, or if they process things on a different in a different way, some people process things differently than others. I feel like this could have triggered B into more silence. I'm hearing. I also feel like B could be someone who would, at least in the beginning, who would jump in and fix A's problems instead of letting A share their problems and allowing safe space so that A can fix their own problems. So I feel like there was a lot of that's basically codependency. There was a lot of enmeshment of energies, and neither of them knew how to set proper boundaries in the connection. And I feel like this relationship would be a perfect example based on the people that they are. It would be a perfect example of a perfectly healed relationship where both parties honor each other's boundaries, and they could become people who are so content in their own lives, so that relationship isn't a space for recharging or venting, but a place where they can both express themselves and share joyous moments, as I did sense that humor is important to both of them. This connection could then feel safe, and they would understand each other's needs without ever having to express them. I'm hearing not that they would have to read between the lines, but they would be so in tune with one another that it would flow like water. They would also, like, and I feel like they did this on some level, but in a healed version they would do this even more, like encourage each other to face their own fears, and not how do I say this, and not how do I say this, enable them. Like, if, and I'm sensing this, like by fixing A's problems, for example, B would enable them to stay in their own fears. For example, if they feared setting boundaries with other people and they came venting to this person, and then this person would just absorb whatever they're venting about instead of telling them, hey, you gotta like set boundaries with these people. And I feel like that, like there was a level of enabling that fears persisted, I think. But in this version where they both healed, I feel like not only that they would encourage each other to face their own fears, I feel like there would be a lot of cheering each other on when it comes to like any life obstacles. I want to ask Spirit, what is what does future for this what does the future for this connection, what does it look like? um I think I'm gonna use this deck. So Spirit, what does future for this connection look like, individually and together? Okay. We got Strength in reverse, Seven of Cups upright, Four of Swords in reverse, Knight of Cups. I'm called to take another card. Two cards came out, and I'm gonna take them as together. Five of Pentacles in reverse and the Emperor. I heard there's a long way to go in front of both of you. And I'm not sure if reconnecting with this person that we're channeling for is something that you even want at this time. I feel like both of you are on this healing journey and are currently feeling quite exhausted. But I also heard that you could be, one of you or both of you could be missing the other's strength, that and the safety that the relationship provided. I feel like both of you are seeking stability after a long period of hardship, or are on a path of attaining it. I'm feeling called to read your guys' letters now to each other. In this case, the person A is has written the letter for person B first, and then the person B responded. Dear blank, I thought a lot about what I wanted to say to you, and though I do have some things I'd like to apologize for, I'll start by expressing my gratitude for our time together, for all the laughs we shared, for everything you taught me, like how to love myself when I thought I wasn't deserving. I will forever be grateful for the part you played in my healing. Honestly, I would never come this far without you. That being said, I will say that I'm truly sorry for the way things ended between us. I don't want to reopen old wounds, but I also don't want to leave things unsaid. I leaned on you more than I should have. I was scared of being alone, but mostly I was afraid of losing you. I see now that in a way I pushed you away, and for that I am sorry. You deserve better. I will forever hold our bond close to my heart. Love, your person. And person B's response. Dear blank, thank you for your honesty. I was also thinking about us recently, and reading what you wrote made me realize that I too have some things to admit, like how I held back in our relationship. I realized that I was afraid of completely losing myself in the relationship. I was afraid to let you in, and I'm sorry. I still think what we had was incredibly rare. I'm grateful for our time together, and even though we were at times messy, I never regretted us. Even now, after all this time, and looking back to the people we were, I'm mostly grateful for the way we changed each other. I wouldn't be who I am today if it weren't for you, so thank you. I don't expect things to change between us. I'm just happy to hear from you. Love, blank. That's why I was a bit silent here. I was sitting here looking at these cards for the question, what does the future for this connection look like? And I feel like both of you have been in this energy of appreciating the relationship for what it was, and are so focused on your journeys. And this card is literally called journey, and both of you are focused on your own individual journeys. And I'm also picking up that person A um, is working on building their own, I want to say, tribe or community, and they have been focused a lot on building something in the physical world. And I feel like their individual lives have exhausted them to a point where when they do think back to this connection that you guys had, both of you feel nothing but gratitude for the other person, but also expect nothing. Like, I don't want to say you've given up, but there is a level of surrendering to simply what is. Like, you appreciate that this relationship for what it was, for what it served in your lives, and have no, I don't want to say have no desire of reconnecting, but you simply appreciate the things for what they were. I'm gonna read your guys's counsel from the guidebook for these two cards. For the person A, your counsel is: wake up. Each sunrise offers a chance to be grateful that you've been given another day of life. Today, you have another chance to make the dreams you're working on come true, or to heal and begin anew. Every moment you're here, in this world, in your body, in the natural world, the divine is embodied and offering you reasons to rejoice. Accept the invitation to wake up to the magic of your life. This card basically talks about celebrating that anything is possible. So there could be a little bit of maybe some despair that you've been through recently. And maybe Spirit is reminding you that anything truly is possible. And whatever it is that you're working on will come to fruition. And not necessarily that that's important right now to you, but to this person. But I'm feeling maybe some level of I want to say, like, you've been working on something and you're not quite sure if it's going to work out or not. And Spirit is saying, absolutely, just enjoy the current moment, even if it's difficult, because you already built everything, so just stop to receive it. There is a need for rest here. For the person B, the counsel part of the text is on page 222, so that could be relevant. This card talks about self-discovery, trusting the path. So the counsel: it's time to ask yourself, where am I going? Your question will be answered with another question: where do you want to go? This is a moment when great changes are underway, in yourself and in the world around you. You may feel uncertain about which direction to take, which choice is right, and what will bring you fulfillment. It's time to travel light, pack only what you need, and leave behind old ideas, especially ones that come from other people and their expectations. There are no mistakes, only adventures that will teach you who you are and why you're here. Learn to trust your instincts, trust your heart, and trust those who love you, especially your companion animals. And remember, the point of the journey is not the destinations, it's who you become along the way. Wow, I love that message. I feel like once both of you finish what you started, that was a thing that I heard, like finish what you started. Once you finish what you guys started, person A will, like, they will get what they need in whomever. So they will get someone, attract someone who is both has empathy and independence. But what they have to finish is to attain that for themselves first, so that they can connect with another authentically without losing themselves. And for person B, I feel like I feel like mutual respect is important to them, because when they love profoundly, and they need someone who doesn't take them for granted. And I feel like once they finish what they started, they will attract someone who's like that. And Spirit is wanting me to emphasize the importance of, I just heard, lightness of being. I feel like both of you are ready to step into the light, whatever that may be for both of you individually. So thank you so much for being here. I do hope this reading resonated with you. This is where I will say goodbye, and I'll see you some other time. Bye.